welcome, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, as Don said last time, we talked about things you can do with mail, the calendar, the drive, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to check that out um, if you have any questions about that. And then after watching, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to know about from last time or today, either one, just let me know, and I'll see how I can help you out. There are two things that I want to do um, before we start that really doesn't cover today. We'll talk about like docs and sheets and presentations and forms and stuff like that. Um, but first, let me share my screen, and I want to show you two things. The first thing is, do you see, because it goes blank on me, do you see my screen with all my icons on it here? Is that the
Yes.
one you're looking at? Okay. So the first thing is, if you don't know Windows 10 very well, is a Windows hack that's also going to show us something to look at for today. Um, Whenever I don't know how to find anything, you can either just type in the search box whatever you want in Windows 10 and it will bring it up. Or on the keyboard, if you hit the Windows button, it opens your menu and you can go ahead and start typing. So the first thing I want to talk about is the software center that we have implemented across campus now. So on your office machine, you can go to the software center and you can find a bunch of things that we've made available for anybody on campus. Um, but the one I want to talk about, the reason why I brought this up is the drive file stream that we have in here. You can click on it, download it, and it will automatically, you'll be able to automatically sync documents between your desktop and your drive. So if you have Word documents, Excel files, things like that on your drive, this brings up a folder so it'll open them up in Word or Excel or whatever on your computer. And then you can work on them, save them, and it automatically saves it and syncs it back to the drive. Um, so that's something that if you want to use it, feel free. If you need help setting it up, then you can contact the help desk here in IT and they'll help you get that set up, which is kind of a good segue into my second piece here, which now we need to go back to share, which this should be. Now, I don't think I shared, I think I shared my whole screen instead of just, yeah, I did. We just want to share this so that way the other stuff doesn't pop up. But so the second thing now is we have added Mojo into the Google Apps icon. So whenever you're in Google now, you can click on here and down at the bottom is our help desk. So you don't have to remember URLs or go out and find anything anymore. You can just come here, click on the star icon, the Mojo icon, and that'll take you straight into help desk. So from here, you can submit tickets, you can view the knowledge base, any of that kind of stuff. So that's a good little new way to get into Mojo. That'll make it easier for you, and we don't have to remember much. We're working on trying to get it moved up to the top, so that way it's easier to view. But one of the things with Google, for some reason, is they don't like to give up real estate to non Google apps, of course. So what you can do, which is another little secret with Google, is you can drag and drop their apps around and order them however you like. But the ones down at the bottom that are specific to our institution, it won't let us drag those up and move them around. So we're trying to figure out if there's a way to move that up. But right now it's down at the bottom. And that's just an easy way to get to that. Okay, so today let's get into talking about some of the different apps to actually get some productivity done, to do things. The first one that we'll talk about is Docs. So Google Docs, most of you probably know, is just like Word. The only difference is it allows you to do things online and it doesn't limit you to a computer or a place that has Office available. You can do the same things you can do with Word, creating Word documents, but it's purely online. Now, and the best part about it is the sharing that we can do with any other type of Google thing comes into effect here. So I can name my document, we'll call this for CTL. But when I share it, I can add other people onto it. So I can add Dominic onto it, and I can make him either view only, where he can add comments to it, or he can full edit it, just like I can. Now, the nice thing about this also with Google Docs is it's not limited to one person working on it. So if I have the document open on my computer and Dominic has it open on his computer, we can both in real time edit it, make changes, edit things to it. And what it does is it just highlights where he's at, highlights where I'm at, and we can both work on this document together. So this is extremely handy if you teach for students, to where they can work together, they can edit things together. They don't have to be in the same room. They don't even have to be on the phone communicating, whatever. They can use the document as their communication tool while they're working on it. Now, everything else with this is going to be just like using Word. So we can, if we look at our different menus, the edit options, cut, copy, paste, all that stuff, different views we can look. We can insert images, you can insert tables, make tables in your document. So that way, if they need to add figures, numbers, whatever you need to do there, you can include special characters. I believe if you are in, which I'm going to test this right now. Yeah, so if you're in Chrome, all the alt codes that you can use to bring up special characters will work. If you don't know what alt codes are, of course, we just Google it. So what alt codes are shortcuts to make different symbols for different letters. So foreign languages use it a lot because all the accents on all the different letters. But there's an alt code where you hold alt and hit like 3 or 4 numbers for every single symbol that's out there. And normally Google, you can find sheets, different ones that'll tell you, what the different alt plus this different things will make that symbol. So there's plenty of resources out there. If it's something that you use a lot, that you use a lot of different symbols for things, this is an easy way to find them and remember them, so that way you can create them quickly while you're making documents.
Hey, Jake. Jennifer's asking a question about docs. If she's been having an issue converting bulleted and numbered lists, that it doesn't translate properly, and then she has to re-add the formatting. Do you know if there's any easy fix for that?
From Word to Docs?
I think so. Is that right? Yes.
Yeah. So the problem that you can run into there is the wonderful world of Microsoft Word, where they like to overdo a lot of formatting. Let me see if I can pull something up here.
So this is the point where we push for Word Perfect again?
Yeah, this is the point where some of us do that and some of us just push for basic text editors and all kinds of other things. So, let me save a copy of this one here. And what I'll do is drag, except I gotta close it in Word before I can do it. I don't want it in a folder. So if I do, okay, pull in this Word document and let's see if it what it does. Now, I will say Google has implemented a lot of new functionality lately with documents and Excel files. So if you've noticed on your email, whenever you get an Excel file or a Word doc as an attachment, it might pop up and say, you can now edit this straight in Google Docs and forward it. So it may be something that they have taken care of, because it looks like, of course, this one is showing up just right.
Jake, not to speak for Jennifer, but I know in my experience, cutting and pasting it's less of an issue with opening a Word doc in Google Docs, but if you're copying and pasting from a Word doc into Excel or into Google Docs, that's where you tend to lose the formatting, and yeah, that's what Jennifer's saying there.
Okay.
Yeah, and she also adds that when you try to add to a list that looks good, oh,
yep, there you go.
Boo.
That's exactly what she's saying and what I've seen.
Okay, so yeah, that's going to be a Microsoft issue. So it looks like what I would say is probably, let's try a couple things here real quick while we're, because what I'm going to guess, or what I know it is it's all the different HTML wonderfulness that, because see, that even keeps the indenting when I remove it. So, and I don't think this will, yeah, see, that will do it again. So yeah, there is, looks like no good answer at this point in time. Besides, maybe what looks the best is if you remove the bullets in Word, if you can, if it's a Word doc, and then paste it in and then add the bullets back in. Otherwise, I bet it's gonna do, even if we bring it in and delete them, that doesn't look too bad either. That could be, if you bring it in and delete them, but you have to copy without formatting. Or paste without formatting. If you paste just straight in is when it looks the worst, and that changes font and everything. And there's probably all kinds of weird stuff going on with these that there'd be no easy, simple way to fix it. If we delete all the bullets, besides, deleting all the bullets, changing your font back to what it needs to be, and see that even through different formatting on that last bullet. So I would say that the best recommendation is either when you paste, do paste without formatting, and then add your bullets back in. Delete the ones that it gives you and add them back in by doing the bulleted list, or take it off in Word. And then when you paste it in, you can add them back in, but it still looks like it changes the font. So it brings in the Microsoft fonts rather than the default Google fonts, which is going to be what a lot of it is Google has their set of fonts that are pretty universal for everything that they use, and Microsoft does the same thing. So, and they don't like to talk to each other. I mean, why would anything on earth want to talk to each other, right? That's an issue that I think we have. So that, I know it's not a perfect answer, but there's kind of an answer for you on that one. Anything else that you guys run into before I get going again? We can just go ahead and talk about those things real quick.
Jake, the equivalent of save to a machine here is download.
Yeah, so if you want to save this to your computer, then you would use download. And for us, we're going to download it as a Microsoft Word document. But once again, the wonderful conversion things, you might have something, you will want to check your formatting, because when you download it, you should have everything. When you download it, of course, it will change formatting on certain things. So you want to double check everything and make sure that it all shows up how it should be, and edit as needed. Because you really never know, going back and forth between the two different programs, what it's going to do. Now, you can also, there are different things. If you want to download it and save and you're not going to change it, you can always save it as a PDF. And then for those people that use Linux at home or anything else, you can save it as an open document format, so it will open up nice and easy in like OpenOffice or LibreOffice, any of those types of programs. So that's always an option. And then if you can also, one of the things I like, if you have something finished that you want to download, you can download it as an EPUB and then open it up on readers, like on tablets or whatever, and you can actually use it as like a book file, basically. So if you've got something you want to give to students or to colleagues that you don't want them to edit it, but you want them to be able to access it easily anywhere, if everybody's got an EPUB reader, so like a Kindle, any of those type of programs, those book reading programs will open it up and they can flip through pages just like a book. So that's a neat little addition that Google has done. You'll notice really the options for the things you can do here are very similar to Word. It's got all of our spell checking, editing tools. It's got all of our additions, things that we want to add in. And then there are also out there, there's tons of different add-ons that you can look at different things that you think you might want to do. If you see something that you like, if you're looking at add-ons and you see something that you think might, be kind of cool to add on, if you have questions about it, let me know and we can research it and see what we can find out. Because, some of them are better than others because these are things that companies and people contribute out there to the Google Cloud. So some of them work well, some of them don't always work well.
One Google add-on that I use that I absolutely love, and I wish that everybody could have because it's so much time saving, and that's Workana.
Yeah, that is a good one. Some of these things, I wish we could implement enterprise-wide, but then we'd probably end up getting kind of crazy with all the different things we added on, and it's hard to say yes for one thing and no for another thing. So unfortunately, that's where we're at on those types of things. So are there any more questions? I know I'm kind of hurrying a little bit, but I want to cover a few things and we really don't have too much time.
Are you familiar with email merge? Jennifer tried that today and still learning to understand it.
With docs. So I have not used the email merge, but it's probably one of the things that.
So what she would want to do is to add first names within the email to make it more personalized.
Oh, okay. Yeah, get with me and we'll go over that kind of stuff. That'll take a little bit. So.
Okay, so Jennifer, reach out directly. That's you're killing it with questions today. These are awesome. I'm learning so much from them.
And then that's one of those things that once we go over it, I'll write something up and I'll send it to Dom, and then we'll have something that we can share with everybody
That's great.
And unfortunately, sometimes these things work good and sometimes they don't. That's the nature of Google. I found out is some things they do and it works really well, and then they'll do one little tweak to it and it just makes you very, very upset because they really good. Like sometimes it happens. Okay, any other doc questions while we're here?
The chat is clear.
Okay. So besides docs, the other things are very similar on sharing. We'll cover sheets next real quick. The one thing that I do want to talk about with sheets that can sometimes disappoint people is that it's not Excel, right? Like it's not as powerful as Excel is, but it has come a long way. So the key difference between Sheets and Excel is really the functionality of the different things you can do behind the scenes with Excel, right? So all the different formulas that you can do, all the different macros that you can add in, and Google has smaller versions of those. So they have added, if I can remember here, the ability to record macros and to import macros. And basically what a macro is is you can record a macro that if it's a repetitive task that you do. So if you have a sheet of data and you want to do the same thing over and over and over. So if I want to, which I'm already recording, but so if I have data that repeats and I need to reformat it or change it, like I need to take this data, and if it's exactly the same, the ones and the twos is not really a good example. But if I want to cut that field and I want to paste it here, then I can record that. And then what I can do is I can set my macro to basically do that over and over and over and over again for me for 40,000 rows or 10,000 rows or whatever. That's a very simplified version of what a macro is.
So instead of worrying about cutting and pasting, you
Yeah.
have it permanently set up. And is it set up to a keystroke?
So yeah, you can set it up to a keystroke. You can open it and run it. But basically what it does is if you have something you do the exact same thing like every month, and it's a laundry list of simple little things that you do, you can record the macro to do all those things, to reformat data. So if I get the same spreadsheet every month and I have to give it to somebody in a different format, then I can record a macro one month that does all the changes for me. And then the next month when I get the new spreadsheet, all I have to do is run the macro and it'll output the different format for me. So that's a little bit more complicated explanation of it. Because, you know, sometimes our bosses don't always like the way things look when the data comes out of these systems, right? So when we pull stuff from Banner, when we pull stuff from Canvas, it may not be formatted how people want to view it. So a macro is an easy way to record all the changes that you need. And then the next time you have to do it, all you got to do is hit a button and it'll give you the output that you need. So that way you're not doing the same thing over and over, month after month after month, or week after week. And that's a very simplified explanation of what it is. But also here, Google has added in quite a bit of the different functions that you have in Excel. So any of the basic math functions that you can do, down to some more intricate things that, depending on what you're trying to do, a lot of it is now here. One of the things that I have to do a lot with Excel is connect different tables, different sheets, and do a lot of lookups where I'm looking for a value on one sheet and tying it to a value on another sheet and pulling data in and putting it together. So none of that used to be available in Google Sheets. It was just in Excel, and now you can do a lot of the same simple stuff. For those of you that might do your own VBA programming in Excel, unfortunately, things like that, custom programming, is not really a go yet. I don't know if it ever will be, because that's pretty powerful. I mean, I'm sure it will be someday, but that's often in the future.
Jake, Audrey asks, how on Sheets do you fill down?
So if you want to fill, say you've got this value, you want to go all the way to the bottom. You double click on the very left corner, or bottom right corner, sorry, I'm back. Click on the bottom right corner on the little thing. If you double click it, it will fill down for you. Or I don't know if, let's try nope, the control click doesn't work. So yep, just double click on that bottom corner and that one will do the fill down for you. anything like that too, you can Google how to do stuff. I love Google. She's my friend. So anything you need to know, you can open up and search there. You can,
Jennifer asks if you want to do consecutive numbers. She informs, if you want to do consecutive numbers, you need to select 1 and 2 together.
right. So if you want to run them, right, you pull them together, and then that should fill us
Oh,
straight down. Yep. And I know that's Excel sometimes will decide to do consecutive numbers when you don't mean to. I've had that happen to me over and over and over again. So Excel's a little bit more finicky on that, but yeah, that's for Google Sheets, that's a good way to make sure you're doing one way or the other. Another thing that I had thought about, but now I forgot is, where'd it go? I know I saw it. Thought it was insert. Maybe. Well, so it disappeared on me. But, oh, no, there it is. Pivot tables. So if you use pivot tables in Excel, pivot tables are now available in Google Sheets also. If you don't know what pivot tables are, it's a good way to like sum up a lot of data. So if I have different values in one column that I want to be able to sort on and sum up other values to give me like totals for money or things like that. And if I have different categories, so if you're doing budgeting and you have different categories for your budgeting, if you've assigned a number or a name to a category and it's in every single cell. So if I have category A and I have category B, and that's give ourselves headings. So I can create a pivot table, and what that will allow me to do is I can say, okay, I want all of my rows, I want all the values that are in this column to show up in a row. And then what I want to look at is the sum of everything that's in this other column. So if I have this column, this first column as my different indicator, it's going to look down there and it's going to say, okay, there's a bunch of 1s and a bunch of 2s. So it's going to give me 2 different categories because that's what it sees. So then it's going to look in this other column and say, how many times, or what's the sum of all the values in this category where we saw that 1? And what's the sum of all the values in this category that we said this is number 2? So if you have a bunch of different categories for stuff, this is an easy way to kind of consolidate those and look quickly at how they sum up and get some totals. Might be something that's useful, might not. And that's available. Pivot tables are available in Excel and in Sheets. So that's a tool you can use both places.
Now, just for the safety of our colleagues here on that pivot table that you just created, are you able to change the grand total or are we stuck with that number?
So, so right now we're stuck with that number.
Oh, that's a sign. That's a sign.
Unless I change some values and update my data, but
Okay.
yeah, no, that was just pure luck.
I don't know if that's luck then.
We're in big trouble. So any other quick and with sharing with the collaboration, it's the same thing with docs comes over to Sheets where two people can be working on it at the same time, and it's real easy to tell because you'll see if I'm blue and if I share this with Dominic and he showed up as the pink or red or whatever it was, you'll see exactly what both people are doing at the same time, so you don't run over each other or undo changes that people made. That carries throughout the docs, the sheets, slides, things like that on Google. You can always see whoever's working on it, both of you are on there. And of course it auto saves. The save to the computer is the same thing. Use the download. You can save it as an Excel file. This is pretty good about formatting. Most of the time, I don't think I've ran into maybe one or two issues to where something got messed up, and it's usually just like it's part of it's left aligned versus center aligned or something like that. So any other questions about Sheets?
Oh, chat is clear.
Okay. An hour goes quickly. That's what we know.
I wish our students felt the same way.
I know. Well, it's different when you're talking instead of listening. Okay, so slides, I'll just bring up, slides is like PowerPoint. It has a lot of the same functionality. There's different backgrounds you can use, different themes, things like that. I have not tried to open our Missouri Western PowerPoint themes into slides. I will do that and let you know if it works. But other than that, it's extremely similar to PowerPoint. So we'll skip a lot of that. And if there's any questions anybody has about slides, anything that they've tried to do and can't do, or things that they're interested in knowing.
How about the ease of doing voiceovers in Google Slides?
Honestly,
if that is easy or not.
I have not tried voiceover in slides.
Okay.
Now,
I think it's about the same as it is in PowerPoint, except that, no, I take that back. As I recall, it was harder because I had to create an audio file and then create a link to the audio file. So much harder than in PowerPoint.
So my students have struggled to successfully send over, they're pretty good when they do PowerPoint and with a voiceover for their research projects. But if they're doing a project on slides, it's hit or miss whether or not I actually get the audio.
Because they also have to give you permission to access the audio file. And so, yeah, I forgot there are like 15 more steps. It's rough.
So I would say we can probably put together something on how to do it and package it all. Because basically what it is, PowerPoint automatically packages it all for you, where with slides, you've got to do the packaging. So we can put something together there here in the future. I'll write that down too.
Thanks, Jeff.
We can go over and you can send it out to students on how they have to do it. Because basically the best thing to do is to create a folder, give you permission to the folder, and then make sure everything's in there.
Yeah.
And then it should all function right. But yeah, it's a little different on how being online on how you would have to put it all together.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on slides real quick?
Chat is clear.
The other one I really wanted to make sure we talked about are forms. So Google Forms are nice, easy, simple way to do a lot of things like simple quizzing, polling. If you're in class, if you're trying to schedule a meeting, if you're in a meeting, things like that you can do very simply with Google Forms. And you can share links and people can answer. Like if you put a link to a form in a presentation, you can always use the shortened URLs. People can get to it real quick. You can get direct instant feedback. And they're real easy to put together. And there's a few functionalities. I won't say there's a lot, but there's a few functionalities that I think are nice for a quick, easy form builder. Of course, we've got all the normal question types, right? So when we create a form, we can do short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, which multiple choice is really single choice, right? So what that means is you can select one answer. So you can have 4 different options, but they pick one, and that's the radio button only allows them to select one. Check boxes is really multiple choice where they can select more than one. So if that's one thing you always have to remember building any type of form in most systems is they call single choice multiple choice. And then ones where you can actually select multiple is usually called checkbox or something like that. So if they may want to select multiple answers, then you want to use the checkbox question type versus the multiple choice question type. Then you can do drop down. Linear scale is Likert, so I can go 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, put labels on, and it'll throw the scale out there for me. Multiple choice grid puts the question and the answer, like, so if we do like I can't even remember what it's called, but if I have a list of definitions, so if I have a list of words and a list of definitions and I want them to do like a matching, that's what I was thinking. So then you can use the grid where you can put in all of those and then you can match them to them. Same thing with checkbox, it'll grid them out. A date field, so if they just need to put in a date or a time field. Those are all the basic form things, right? So then where it comes in really neat, some of the things that we can do is if I want to ask a question and I want them to say, not yes or other, I want them to say yes or no. Okay, based on that answer, I can click on go to section based on answer. Now, I don't have multiple sections yet, but when I build this out, over here in the sidebar, it has different options, add questions, which adds them to the same section on the quiz or the quiz or survey or whatever. But then I can also, this bottom one is add section. So if I do this and I call this if you answered yes and this if you answered no in all caps, then I can come back up to my first question and say, go to section based on answer. And if they say yes, I want to go to this section. If they say no, I want to go to this section. So you can do like a filtering based on answers that'll take them to different parts of the form. That's a handy little feature that I think is real useful for if you want to inquire more into why someone answered something, right? So especially with students, if they give you an answer to a question and you really want to know why they're thinking that or what reasoning they have behind it, it's a good way to not have to just list questions out and say, if you answer yes, go to question 8. You know, if you answer no, go to question 4, as we used to have to do on pieces of paper, right?
Mhm. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, chat's on the board saying it's like an escape room game or choose your own adventure.
Yes, yes.
Very cool.
Choose your own adventure. Now,
You should never open with, would you like to have a meeting?
right.
If yes, what time? If no, you're removed from the meeting.
Yeah, correct. Don't do that.
Jake, I have a question. So of course, over here in student affairs, we use Google Forms a little bit different than the teaching style. The one biggest thing that we run into every time is we have to have approvals for a lot of things. Now, for me, I understand Google Forms. I have some pretty massive Google Forms set up using that routing thing, but I also we need approval. So what are there any free options to be able to route for approvals, or is there any? I know we have dynamic forms, but dynamic forms just isn't what I need.
If I had to guess, I haven't run into any add-ons to do workflow, right?
We're using the free version of form approvals right now, but you only get so many a month.
Right.
And then after that, you have to pay. And it's actually pretty cheap to add a bunch more. But I just didn't know if the university would look at something more than that. I mean, could possibly save us a lot of money on dynamic forms, honestly.
Right. I'm going to say probably the difference, probably it might be something we could look at for you guys, but university-wide, probably not because of the nature of some of the things we need to do with other forms.
Yeah. You would like make my day, make the rest of my entire year if I could just have that option in Google Forms.
So send me an email with what you want me to look at.
Okay.
And I'll investigate for you.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, workflow is another thing. By default, there is no workflow, right? It's just all right here. One of the things you can also do with forms is you can turn them into, now I got to remember where it was. I got off. Where's my, oh, there it is. So I can turn a form, if I click on settings, I can turn a form into a graded quiz. So I can make it a quiz where it will ignore the locked mode on Chromebooks because we don't use Chromebooks. Some students have them, but not all. So, which would be neat if they made this option available for other things, but not right now. But we can release grades immediately. So if it's something real quick in class you want to do and you just want to shoot them a grade, you can turn this into a quiz, so it will grade them. It's not as robust as the Canvas quizzing feature, of course, but something quick and easy that you want to do, you can use Google Forms to do that. You can also do things like show a progress bar, so it will tell them, you know, you're 10% done, 20% done, 30% done as they're going along. You can shuffle questions, and then if you make it a quiz, you can show them a link to submit another response if you make it a quiz and you give them like the ability to answer multiple times.
Jake, where does the result go? So I want to know how all my students did on this Google quiz.
So if you do that up here in responses.
Okay.
If you come back in, it will list all of your responses, but then you can also create a Google Sheet.
Okay.
So if I do that from the get-go when I make it, as they're answering it, it'll throw them in there.
Okay, thank you.
So then you don't have to come back in here. You can just go straight to Sheets and look at it. Otherwise, it'll list all your responses in here. And then you can also download them if you want to take them to Excel. And other things. Of course, required versus non-required questions. You can make any question required, any question not required. You can shuffle multiple choice answers. So sometimes that's another cheating wonderfulness. If A is the same on everybody's quiz, right? Then somebody sits in a computer lab and answers A and tells all their buddies, number one is A, right? But if we shuffle all the answer choices, then that mixes up the answers. So if everybody answers A, then not everybody's going to get it right. That's a little cheating thing for instruction. And then also, which we don't need that. Also, we can insert images. We can insert video into questions. So embed images or embed video into questions. So that way that'll show up. If you want them to watch a video and answer a question, you can do that on here too. I would say if it's something that's more robust, and you're using it in class, Canvas is probably a better method. If you're using it for departmental things like surveying people, departmental training, you could make, a form for onboarding in your department. If there's certain things you want people to know, you can put it in things like this and let them go through and watch and answer questions based on videos. I don't know if any departments do any type of departmental onboarding, but
CTL is working on it with HR right now.
Oh, good. Well, that's campus-wide onboarding, right? Yeah. So that will be more robust. That'll be good.
Yeah.
So those are some things you can do with forms. Of course, our hour is just about up. So I'll ask if anybody has any questions about anything, then go ahead and ask. And then if you have questions after, feel free to shoot me an email.
Well, here's a question from Jennifer on back to docs.
Okay.
So can you adjust margins as a page layout other than the margin slider at the top?
So go there, close this. I closed it, didn't I? So if we want to adjust margins by, might be a no, might be the answer. But we can look real quick. Because Google likes to simplify. I mean, that is one thing they do. Where Microsoft likes to give us 17 ways to do something, Google tends to take all of those away but one, whether or not it's something we want them to do or not. No. I don't see it, but let's look. So it's header and footer, page setup. Oh, there we go. So now we got to find where was page set up. Probably not in the menu, right? In the file. So page setup, and then we've got our margins here.
Awesome. Thank you.
And that's just like anything else, right? Feel free to click help and type in what you want.
Perfect.
And hopefully it'll find it.
There is one more question, and it comes from the Department of OCD.
Yeah.
For the love of God, would you fix your painting?
Hey, it's art, right?
It is art.
You got to let it flow how it wants to flow.
Fine, we'll breathe through it.
Yeah. It messes with a lot of people. And I will say, I didn't hang it like that on purpose. It kind of fell that way. And I looked at it and went, yeah, that works.
Yeah. Evan said he was going to come down there and fix it himself.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't his art.
Yeah. If I come in on Monday and it's straight, I'll know.
Well, Jake, this was absolutely great. Thank you for walking us through this for us. If anybody has any questions specifically about these documents or these applications, please reach out to Jake. Please let your colleagues know that this has been recorded, and if they would like to watch it, it'll be on the CTL webpage and the YouTube page. And I think that's it for now, unless anybody else has any questions. We're getting a lot of thank yous in somebody arguing that your painting was painted that way. So thanks again, Jake. I know we'll be calling on you again in the future. We really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Anytime.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a blessed Gold Friday and have a great weekend.